What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is the undefeated post-weigh-in show for UFC Jacksonville, and we're talking weigh-ins, baby. We take one final look at these fighters as they step on the scales. I tell you what is going on. We mix that in with all of our analysis throughout the week, and we try to find every little squeezed out, beautiful juice of profit we can get from this UFC fight card. Best damn betting show of the week. Do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio if you have not already, and let's get into this dang thing because I have got some stuff for you guys. Also, do want to go ahead and mention, once again, thank you. Big shout out to Bet Openly. They are my new sponsor here on the Die Hard MMA podcast. Everybody snatched up my Jillian Robertson money. I posted it up out there for you guys. If you want to go head to head with me with better odds because of the 1% reduced juice by Bet Openly, it's a great way to bet. It's a great way to interact and have fun. We're cutting out the middleman of the bookies, and if we're on opposite sides, we can bet each other at better odds than you're going to get at normal books. So I'm thinking about maybe throwing a second bet up there. I've got all my fill of Jillian Robertson, but I will put links in the description down below for you guys to go check out Bet Openly. I've been throwing some degeneracy out there on baseball, and it's been pretty awesome. So make sure you click the link for me down below. And hey, guys, seriously, come. Even if you don't sign up for Bet Openly, at least not yet, like you should, but if you don't, just click the link, drive a little traffic, help out your boy. All right, first off, we got to get the bad news out of the way. We lost one. Very disappointing. Unfortunately, Rodriguez came in 4 pounds overweight, and Tatsuro Taira honestly probably made what is a really good decision over the life of his career. He did not accept the fight at a catch weight. Clifton Rodriguez is a big boy. That's a growing kid with a big frame. I think you don't want to take that guy on if he's got an extra 3 or 4 pounds on you coming into a fight like this. So unfortunately, for our sake, from the fans' perspective, the fight is canceled for Tatsuro. I think that's probably a very wise move. Take a different opponent who, if they're larger than you, at least has to cut all the way down to the weight class. First fight of the evening, Cody Brundage taking on Cedric Dumas. We got Brundage coming in at 186 pounds, Dumas 185. Cody was super calm on the scales today, gave a big old solid flex. Dude looks good. He's got that frame on him. You always know he's going to look good. Cedric Dumas, no issues whatsoever from him. Throwing his hands up, doing his thing up there. Seems to be enjoying himself. When they faced off, Dumas has a slight height advantage. I will be honest with you guys, I thought this would be more pronounced. I thought he was going to be a lot taller than Cody Brundage, but Cody's a big boy. When we talk about thickness, the size of their heads, like Cody's massive when they faced off. So this is a spot I'm still just kind of teetering back and forth on. My gut, the hairs on my back of my neck, they all tell me that Cedric Dumas is going to come back in here with a chip on his shoulder and show out. You know, my guy MMA Locker Room here at Pub Sports Radio did an interview with this guy. You can sit down and listen to it. He rambles for like 45 minutes straight. All props to my guy, MMA Locker Room, but that thing, there's a couple of nuggets in there, but it's rough to listen to after a while. He basically thinks that he beat himself going into that fight, and I can take that kind of two ways. Either one way, you can go, okay, chip on his shoulder, he's kind of wiping the slate clean, that's a good thing, he's coming in here motivated to get his first UFC win, or you can take it as he's completely blind to the holes in his game and the mistakes that he's made, and he has not patched those because he's just coming right back in here to go ahead and get another fight. The key here, I think, is Cody. Cody's a round one fighter. He completely falls apart. He's a great hammer. He's a bad nail. And if you can turn the tables on him, he has trouble. The thing is, Cedric Dumas doesn't show any capability defensively grappling whatsoever. If Cody, instead of exploding into everything he does, slows this down, drags this dude to the floor, I don't know how Cedric Dumas gets out from under this absolute monster of a human being that is Cody Brundage. But we can't, as much as I love the guy, we can't trust Cody to follow an intelligent game plan. It's just not what he does. And the very first time he gets cracked or something goes wrong, he jumps Gilly. He does something stupid and he goes for an instant kill. Sometimes he catches them. So far, we're like 1 out of 3 so far with him catching a jumped guillotine in the UFC. So both these guys have finishing upside. Just bet the under and go to bed comfortable. Like, I don't think you want a money line on this side. If I was going to play anything, it would probably be Dumas inside the distance. Maybe Brundage by sub, I think, is his most likely path. Wild first fight of the night, folks. This is one we definitely want to just kind of take some notes on. We'll figure out who's going where after the dust settles. Second fight up, Jamal Emmers taking on Jack Jenkins. Emmers came in at 146. Jack Jenkins 145.5. Honestly, Emmers looked pretty dang good up there. He did have to take a second attempt at making weight, and he shaved his head in order to get all the way down to the right weight here. He's a big dude for this weight class. Props to him for going all the way, for getting it done, for hitting that 146 limit. Jack Jenkins looked great up there. He's really feeling himself. He's rocking the stash, curly hair. You love to see it. Emmers always taller. When these guys face off, Jamal Emmers is much taller. No surprises there. Emmers is a minus 200 favorite at this point, and I've been leaning towards him all week. I think I really kind of... I initially thought I liked the dog odds on Jack Jenkins, the leg kicks being a big narrative this week for a lot of people. And I do see that path to victory for him. But I'm really just struggling with how this whole thing actually pans out, because if Jamal Emmers uses even the slightest little bit of fight IQ, he's the better fighter, he's more proven, he's fought a higher level of competition, he's a freak athlete, he should win this fight, he really should. I can't put my money on Jamal Emmers at minus 200, but I will still be picking him. I think I'm going to pass on this one from a betting perspective, though. Chepe Mariscal and Trevor Peek. We got Mariscal coming in at 154, Peek 156. Chepe looked really calm up on the scale today. For a guy who's never actually made it to the big show but fought a lot of high-profile guys, he really looked like he belonged. Trevor Peek up there was stone cold, though. This guy, he looks like an angry version of Liam picks fights, and then, he smiles and all that goes away, but when it's fight week, that smile doesn't come out. He was absolutely intense up there on the scale. Peek slightly larger. We knew that coming in. Not as big as I was hoping for. I thought he'd have a more pronounced size advantage than he does. Money has finally bounced back in here on Trevor Peek. He's a minus 120 favorite now. We bought low. We got the 110. I was hoping we'd get even money. I held out as long as I could. I missed out on the minus 105. But I will be willing to take the minus 110 on a guy who opened up minus 250. Now, I think that opener may be a little bit wide, but I agree with it more than I agree with the current line. I think he's just going to be too much for Chepe to handle. And I know Chepe's got a lot of high caliber experience, but coming in on short notice, can he drown this guy who's on a full camp, who's got a great gas tank? I'm not sure he can. Being the smaller guy, can he go blow for blow with a guy like Trevor Peek? He's more technical than Trevor is, but Trevor obviously is going to be the guy in there that's the freak of nature. He hits harder. He's kind of a Francis Ngannou type at this weight class. His technique isn't the prettiest, but if he cracks you, you're dead. So I am going to go ahead and rock with my guy Trevor Peek. I do have a bet on him at minus 110. He's back to minus 120 like I mentioned, so, do with that what you will. I think Trevor Peek is a guy we're going to buy low on as long as we can. The secret's already out about him, but people are still trying to fade him. I think that day will come when he faces somebody who's a little too technically skilled for him. I just don't think this is the one. It's got to be someone who can match his physicality as well, and I'm not convinced Chepe can do that. Next up, we got Joshua Van bringing it in here, taking on Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Both guys made 125 and what looks to be a quarter pound, which is interesting. I'm sorry, Zhalgas made 125 and a half, whereas Van made 125 and a quarter. Big ol' smile, feeling himself, good mood. I like Joshua Van. This kid, I like this kid. I think I'm going to keep my eye on him. Zhalgas, professional as ever, face a bit sucked out. This is the third time he's made weight in like 4 or 5 weeks because of these short notice turnarounds, replacement opponents, all that stuff. You got to wonder if that has any kind of effect on him and or his cardio. Your body can only peak so many times in a certain amount of time before that starts to take a toll on you, and we've seen it before. We've seen fighters in the past with these quick turnarounds where they just kind of fall flat that final time when they finally step into the cage, because realistically, he was ready to fight at his best 4 weeks ago. Can he still be at his best 4 weeks later? I'm not so sure. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a head coach. I couldn't tell you, but we know it's been a problem in the past. I like this Van kid. I really do. Feeling himself, really went like forehead to forehead with Zhalgas Zhumagulov, spread his arms open wide. Like, I like the cockiness in this kid. I do. We've got Joshua Van as a plus 170 dog, minus 200 on Zalgas. Same situation here for me as Emmers. I'm picking Zalgas to win just because he's got that experience. This kid really hasn't fought anybody, but I cannot trust this man at minus 200. Maybe he drags this kid into deep waters and taps him out. He's probably got a wrestling advantage. He's probably got a jiu-jitsu advantage. He obviously has, the skill overall advantage, but Joshua Van's kind of like a little Maki Pitolo. He's not going to come in here scared. He's not going to be nervous. He's going to wing bombs. He's going to take his shots, and every once in a while, these psychopaths come in and do this, and they win. They just put it all out there, and they get the dub. Alexander Hernandez comes to mind when he knocked out Benny. So I'm not going to stand in the way of this one. I want to take some notes on Joshua looking forward. Picking Zalgas, God bless you if you're laying minus 200 on that man. I couldn't do it because it could very easily go to a split decision again with Zalgas at minus 200. No, thank you. Tabitha Ricci takes on Jillian Robertson, the Twitter Civil War of the week. Y'all already know what side I'm on here. We've got Tabitha 114. Jillian Robertson is 116. No problems whatsoever for Tabitha. I gotta wonder if she's an Avatar fan. When she goes up there for weigh-ins, her hair looks exactly like Katara when they get to the Fire Nation. So fun little nerdy side note there for you guys. But she looked great. No problems at all. Jillian did look a little sucked out on the scales today. Now this is only her second fight in the new weight class. She's still getting used to cutting weight for really the first time ever in her life. She's never cut weight when she was at 125. That's why she was always undersized and understrength against her opponents. But you can see that actually being a positive for her here because she has a decent size advantage here on Tabitha Ricci. She needed that size advantage. She needed that strength advantage. That's how Jillian's game plan operates. She's got to be the bully. She can't pull it off if she's not the bully. So this has been an interesting fight basically all week. Everyone's got their opinions of it. Personally speaking, I'm not impressed at all with Tabitha Ricci striking. Yes, she's athletic. Yes, she's fast. Yes, she hits hard for being a 115-pound woman. But she's sloppy. She leaves openings. None of it's pretty. There's no method to the madness. Jillian's nothing to write home about striking either, but I just think we're getting two sloppy strikers who are primarily grapplers facing each other. So striking, I think, is relatively even. I'll give the slight edge to Ricci for being like faster, but then when they get to the grappling, it's kind of the same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to give a slight edge to Jillian. Now, I know Tabitha Ricci's got better judo, better wrestling, but I think Jillian Robertson is the better BJJ practitioner for MMA anyway, and she finds her way to her opponent's back. She can backpack you if she needs to. She knows how to stay on top of people. She can float for that top position. She goes to mount. She raises down elbows. There's a lot of ways that she can out-scramble Ricci, who's going to, I think, struggle with the size difference in this spot. We'll find out if I'm right on Saturday, but I think the size of Jillian is going to be the key here that kind of pushes this over the edge. Now, I got Jillian at plus 110 earlier in the week. This was my come get your Clint Buck spot of the week. I put $100 out there on Bet Openly for you guys who like Tabitha Ricci to come try and take my money on this one. You got a better line on Tabitha Ricci over on Bet Openly, and so did I. I got plus 125 for that $100 on there, so both of us are at least getting a better number with this little head-to-head option. And three people got in and take some of my money, so we'll see how this goes. I also have not one, but two shoey bets going on this fight. I really need Jillian Robertson to win this fight. And then, as if the gambling gods themselves heard my prayers, they heard my plea, they knew how deep I was in on this spot, like a lightning bolt from heaven, my guy Andrew, the risk supervisor at Superbook Sports, hits me up and lets me know the big guy came in and bet Jillian Robertson. That's right, everybody. The big guy, the number one MMA bettor over at Superbook Sports, he put his money on Jillian Robertson this week, and I found that out, and it's such a gigantic relief for me. What we've noticed in a trend here, not only is he the best MMA bettor that they have got, but when him and I line up on the same spot, not me tailing him, but when I'm not aware that he bet aside and both of us come to the same conclusion, that's had a damn good hit rate. I should have tracked that. I should have gone back and started keeping tabs on exactly when it's happened. But the last 3 times in a row that I can actually remember, granted, baby little tiny sample size, all gamblers miss. Not everybody hits 100%, so, the big guy has lost some spots. But when the two of us have agreed for at least the last 3 times in a row that it's happened, those have won spectacularly. So for him to come in on Jillian makes me feel a whole hell of a lot better for this spot. Do with that info what you will, but I've got backup coming into this fight, and I feel damn good about it. Loic Radzhabov taking on Mateusz Rebecki. Radzhabov, one of our weight missers today. We got 3 of them that missed weight on the scales here today. Loic came in at 157.25. Rebecki did make weight. He did 155 and a half. You know, Loic, he looked really disappointed up there, but this is a big guy. Big guy. He's had trouble on the scales before, but he's just really massive. He carries a lot of muscle with him. He bullies people around in there. You've got his opponent, Rebecki, though, who's a bit shorter, but, geez, he's got just as much muscle on him. This guy has, when he flexes, it's ridiculous. So when they face off, it's kind of what you'd expect. You know, Rebecki's thick as hell, but Loic has a decent little size advantage here on this spot. I bet Loic earlier in the week, and I got him at plus 120, I want to say, you know, at Superbook Sports. And even though they're not sponsoring the show anymore, they are sharp when it comes to the MMA betting action, so I will still, you know, tell you what some of these lines are at. Loic's all the way down to plus 105. And that's because the big guy came in just this afternoon. We're talking today, right before the show started. I got another little ding, and my guy Andrew let me know. The big guy bet on Loic. He's got 2 spots this week, and that's Jillian and Loic Radzhabov, both of which I bet earlier in the week. So let's put that, you know, theory to the test about me and the big guy coming in on the same spots. I was actually getting a little bit of cold feet on Loic. You guys know I never like it when fighters miss weight. I tend to try to bet against them when that happens, but this is a spot where a guy with some cardio issues, a guy who really is just massive for the weight class, I kind of view the extra 2 pounds as a positive. I kind of feel like, you know, if he's getting a little tired, if he's sucking himself out a little bit too much and then goes, I'll take the fine. Like, yeah, buddy, take the advantage. Give me the edge here at my little plus 125. Let's go. So I'm kind of liking the weight miss from Loic, even though it's a, you know, technically speaking, I want all fighters to make weight. It's kind of dirty, but I think it might pan out for us. We'll find out. Because if Loic does gas out in this fight, I do think Rebecki in the 3rd round is going to take his face off. We've seen Rebecki able to dig deep in fights and still just be able to wing bungalows with big old power shots. So that's not going to go well for Loic if he can't either stay in the driver's seat or finish this fight early. I pray to God he finishes early, but let's go. I'm on the dog. I've been on the dog all week. I'm scared shitless. Got a little backup coming in here on a Friday, but we'll see what happens. Randy Brown taking on Wellington Turman. Both guys made 171. Brown stoic, did not move a muscle on the scale, which I thought was interesting. I'm not quite sure what to do with that. Couldn't see if he was, you know, wobbly or anything like that because he just stood still, never budged. Wellington Turman gave a solid flex up there. No issues whatsoever, actually. For his first time down at 170, he looked fine. Looks like the weight cut went well for him. He wasn't too sucked out. He's very muscular at this weight class. Brown obviously has a height advantage, but it's not what you would expect. You know, usually Randy Brown is like way taller than these guys. Turman's not a small man. He's a decent-sized dude. So this was a decent size up here. I really think that Turman is going to be able to get this fight to the ground. I bet on him earlier in the week. Plus 205 is what I got. He's somewhere in the ballpark of plus 185, plus 195 around the market right now. So at least a little bit of action has come in my way and kind of backed me up here on that dog shot. And I know, shout out my guy, Johnny the Greek. He came in on the underdog as well. So I'm hoping that I've got a good enough, you know, friends in high places that are in some of these crazy dog shots here with me. I'm also very tempted on Wellington Turman by sub, because you can get that at like 6-1. And frankly, I think that's his best path to victory. We have seen Randy Brown get clubbed and subbed. We've seen him get hurt. We've seen him lay on his back and literally do nothing from that position. I think someone who's as good at jiu-jitsu as Turman is, especially on the ground, he'll be able to take advantage of that. So I do think the under makes sense here in this spot too, because if Turman can't get him to the ground, Brown probably chins him. But I think this is a decent spot to get Turman at a big plus money number. Next up, Rowe versus Magny. Not a whole lot to report here. Both guys came in at exactly 171 pounds. Both guys look damn near identical on the scales. No issues for either one of them. And they size up really, really well. I mean, this is the first time anybody's ever been able to match either of these guys, physically speaking. They have identical 81-inch reaches here as well. Rowe seemed like he was super pumped up. Got a bit of a chip on his shoulder coming into this one. Magny, super relaxed. He was doing the John Jones things where he kind of looks off to the side and doesn't meet his opponent's eyes. That always makes me nervous, but, you know, he's kind of a softer spoken type of dude. It makes sense that he kind of plays it that way. You've got Magny, who's a minus 165, minus 175-ish favorite at this point. We got in earlier in the week. It opened up as a pick'em. We're all on the same side here, and that terrifies me. Rowe could come in here and just melt, Magny, who's a little bit past his due date. But we also found a unanimous decision prop on DK. Some of you saw me tweet this out. Some of you saw me post it on Instagram. Plus 650. Can you believe that? They had Magny by decision set at even money, plus 100. Death taxes, and Magny by decision. You guys know that's the saying. But for him to win by unanimous was plus 650. Are you kidding me? Like, are they hiring Sal D'Amato to sit cage side and just make sure Rowe gets one vote? If this thing goes all 15 minutes, I'm pretty sure it's Magny all day. If Rowe wins, I think he's got to finish. The 2 times Rowe has gone to decision, he's lost, and they've both been by unanimous. So I think this is just a miraculous, glorious angle, and I can't believe we abused such a beautiful number. Thank you, DraftKings, for playing that out for us. That number's been smashed. When I tweeted it, it got such a flood of attention. They pulled that number down and they put it back up at plus 130. So it's gone for those of you watching this show. But from what I understand, you can still bet that the fight ends in a unanimous decision, kind of like betting the split prop, except the other way, betting the fight ends unanimous decision. And it's like plus 250. So that gets you a unanimous decision for Phil Rowe in there as well. While I think that's highly unlikely, it's better than the even money plus 100 for Magny by decision. So if you still want in, that's your cheat code. That's your way to get around that and still get in at a better number than plus 130. Next up, Brendan Allen taking on Bruno Silva. We've got Allen 185.5. Bruno made 186. Brendan Allen dead animal sighting. Every time this guy comes out and puts that dead animal on his head, it seems to be what's keeping his hot streak alive. Ask my guy Dan Levy from Half the Battle. That's his power. Bruno Silva, big smile and flex. Business as usual. No problem for either of these guys. Super intense face-off. This was fantastic. They got nose to nose. Allen has a slight height advantage here in this spot. They kept staring down with each other even after they got separated. Bruno didn't even want to get off the stage. Like, these guys are ready to go, and I can't wait for this fight. I'm so excited for this spot. Allen is between the 190 minus 200 range. Bruno Silva plus 150 plus 160 in that ballpark. The one thing I'm tempted on is Bruno Silva by knockout. I do know that Allen has a hard time with overhand rights, and that's Bruno's best punch. We've talked about it a couple different times. He's had that option against a few different opponents, and heck, that's how he laid out the last guy. So I do think Bruno by KO is absolutely live, but if he doesn't land something on Allen, then I think Allen probably catches him in a sub at some point during this fight. The question for me is whether or not Allen will be able to take him down. Either way, I kind of like violence in this spot. I think one way or the other, one of these guys is going to find a way to finish their opponent here. So if it stays on the feet, I think eventually we've got Bruno finding the chin of Allen, but if it hits the ground, I would expect Brendan Allen to kind of style on him. We'll see what happens, but no bet for me. I like under, kind of lean Bruno KO. Shout out to my guy Lou. I'm just shouting everybody out today. Shout out to my guy Lou. It pays better. Next up, David Onama and Gabriel Santos. David Onama 146, Santos 145. Onama was amped up at the scales today, folks. I talked about how he's been gone for a year and we don't know what that's going to make of him. He's a freak athlete. He's in great shape. He's big. He's got a good frame. I could see massive improvements from this kid with a year off at a new camp. Gabriel Santos was feeling himself up there, though. He's got the widest abs I think I've ever seen. Massive abs, huge muscles on this guy. He's also got a great smile on him. Another nose-to-nose stare down. These guys got in and went forehead to forehead. Very intense. Nothing but respect once it was over. They even gave a nice little fist bump afterward. You love to see that. Onama does have a slight size advantage here in this spot. And this is another spot that I'm just going to watch. I can't figure out what to do with this fight. If you're betting on David Onama, you're expecting that the year off has made big improvements in his game, which is entirely possible. But Gabriel Santos is kind of the new hotness. We saw what he was able to do, went through a complete war and got robbed on the judges' scorecards against a very respectful opponent last time out. So I think he's deserving of being the favorite considering what we've seen recently. That said, I can still kind of see this line being just a little bit too wide because Onama is so long, he's so explosive, he hits so hard. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he comes out and just kind of reminds us who the F he is in this spot. This is maybe a live bet opportunity because I don't think Onama is necessarily built for war the way that Gabriel Santos is. I do think this is a sweet spot to kind of keep your eyes peeled live and see if you get a better number, especially going into the later rounds. If you see David Onama kind of cowering, we talked about this on the Monday show, the way he kind of folded against Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr getting in his face and just continuing to maul this guy. He eventually kind of broke and just sat down in the corner and accepted it. And I really think Landwehr could have finished him if he had not played to the crowd crowd and just stayed on him. Santos ain't playing to the crowd. If Santos gets in that spot, he's going to finish this guy. So I think you watch carefully live, and especially if David Onama's winning this fight, but it looks like he's starting to fade, looks like he's starting to lose that confidence in himself, then jump in on the Santos side. Otherwise, this is just going to be a take notes type of fight. This is the good kind of fireball and popcorn. Be ready to watch this fight because this thing, I think, is going to be a barn burner from start to finish. Next up, we've got Austen Lane taking on Justin Tafa. Lane 145.5. Tafa, 245.5. Tafa 266, the absolute max here in the UFC for Justin Tafa. Austen Lane, it's hard for me to get a read on him. First off, he's new. Second off, he's got so many dang tattoos I can't even see his body. So it looks like he's in solid shape, but you can't really make it out very much. Classic heavyweight in Justin Tafa, big old flabby boy. There's nothing we can do about that. Big height advantage for Lane, not that it necessarily matters at this weight class. I don't know what to make of this one either, because if Austen Lane either, shoots for takedowns and is successful, that probably works. If he stays at range and just avoids the stubby little T-Rex arms of Justin Tafa, I could see that working too. But if he gets in there and explodes in from halfway across the cage and throws some weird flying Superman the way he usually does, I think Tafa's going to clip him with something on his way in and put him out. So yeah, I'm going to pick Justin Tafa, I think, but I have no confidence in this fight, and I have no confidence in either of these guys. I don't even know if either of them are truly UFC caliber. The one thing I know is Tafa's got serious power. That's all this comes down to. No bet for me. Definitely just going to be watching. Your co-main event spot, though, Maycee Barber taking on Amanda Ribas. Barber came in at 126, Ribas 125, and Barber gave a big old flex. She was no emotion up there today. Very stone-faced, all business. Classic Ribas with her absolutely infectious smile. Threw up her little number one finger. Ribas is taller. When they face off here, Amanda Ribas is taller than Maycee Barber, but as soon as they stop facing off, if you watch the video, Maycee turns away and they both start to walk off the stage. That girl is so thick. She's way broader than Amanda Ribas is, and I think that's part of why I like this spot. You can still get the plus 170 that I jumped on here for Maycee Barber if you're insane like me and you want to go for it. And the spot that I'm really looking at here is going to be Maycee by knockout. You can get it at plus 450. I know we've gone to this well before in the past that it hasn't always worked out, but Amanda Ribas gets chinned in every single fight. Caitlin Chukagian had her hurt and wobbled in their fight, and folks, if you're getting wobbled by Caitlin, I'm never going to trust that chin of yours. Maycee Barber's getting better. Her technical boxing is pretty solid. And the big thing is those elbows. Especially up against the cage, or if she gets on top of you on the mat, she goes to work with elbows immediately. I think if Ribas gets caught with just one of those things, she's going to wobble, and Maycee's killer instinct is something I like about her game. She will get in there, and she will throw until the ref pulls her off. I think Maycee's going to find a way to clip Ribas once over the course of this fight, and once she clips her and hurts her, that's it. I think we're going to get a stoppage. And even if we don't get a stoppage, I think the visuals of Maycee Barber cracking Ribas and her kind of backpedaling from those big power shots, those will be enough to give us the edge if this thing makes it to a judge's scorecards. So I'm going to go ahead with the underdog here. Maycee Barber, I like this shot. I'm going to take this stab. The judges like her. Let's see how crazy I can be this weekend. There's some big spots that I like, and most of them at plus money. Let's roll those dice, baby. Ilia Topuria taking on Josh Emmett in your main event here. Emmett is 145.5, Topuria 146. And honestly, Emmett always just looks like death on the scales. He was a bit sucked out today, not nearly as bad as last time, thank goodness. But he looked okay. Ilia Topuria looked a bit rough as well, but he's another thickly well-muscled guy coming in here. He did the discount double check, the champion belt move up there. Emmett does have a slight size advantage here, which I was a little bit worried about. He's a big, thick dude for this weight class, and Ilia Topuria I was hoping would be the slightly bigger guy. He's younger, he's fresher. I think he's got a better chin, but both guys were laughing and talking with each other and parlaying each other's hands, almost like they're getting ready to start the fight right here, right now. Had to be separated. You love to see it. I'm on the Ilia side here. I had Ilia parlayed with Tatsuro Taira at minus 125. I loved that. I loved that parlay. One of those spots where it brings the number down. I don't want to lay minus 350 on Ilia Topuria, but I do think he wins. So I'll tie two guys that I think both get the win regardless of how or why, and pay a cheaper price tag on it. That's gone. That's out the window. Taira canceled. So I've got a big fat bet on Ilia Topuria moneyline straight up, unfortunately. And we're just going to let it ride at this point, I think. I might have to add, and round it out, make it exactly 3.5 units to win one or something like that, because I hate winning 0.6 of a unit or something like. I don't know. That just drives me nuts when that happens. I want to win a full unit when I win a bet. But I'm picking Ilia here. I just worry about Josh Emmett's durability at this point. You know, I don't question his heart or anything like that, but this is a guy who's been plagued with injuries his entire career, and he's coming off of getting rocked and finished. I think Ilia can do much of the same. At the same time, this is a big step up in competition for Ilia. It's a real test for him, but he's one of these Georgian warriors. He's a freak. He's got big-time power in his hands. I think he can pass the test. If you want to anchor parlays on Ilia Topuria minus 360, easy hedge out. You know, we've got Bare Knuckle FC coming up. We've got PFL this evening, and then a nice big juicy UFC card that starts tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Make sure you check your listings. We got breakfast, mimosas and waffles, folks. It's a morning card tomorrow, so if you didn't know, make sure you set that alarm clock because we got to be up bright and early tomorrow. But it's an easy hedge spot with Josh Emmett being a plus 280 underdog, a guy that's got, you know, big power and a puncher's chance. That's how you hedge out of like a big stupid parlay that anchors on a guy like Ilia. So if you're gonna go that route, easy way to handle it for tomorrow. That's the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show, folks. Good luck on all your degenerate action. Let's keep this gravy train rolling. Let's roll.